am back with another not drunk reaction, and today I'm drinking Fireball as I often am. Oh yeah, it's really good when I get the balance just right because a lot of times I have a heavy hand, and so as a bartender I'm a dick. And today I just wanted to, a question occurred to me while I was doing a drunk reaction on the second episode of Snowpiercer, which didn't occur to me in the first episode, and I've never seen the movie. Maybe it gets addressed in the movie. Maybe it'll be addressed specifically later in this season. But and it wasn't like a plot hole question. It was just a question: why allow the aristocracy to exist, first class to exist in the Snowpiercer universe, like in the circumstances in which they live? It may sound like a dumb question because we have a class system in America now, and that's what the show wants to talk about, and they want to why did they have in the original Star Trek series? Why did they have aliens with black on one side and white on the other side? Why did they have that? Well, you could say, well, that doesn't make any sense from a biology point of view or whatever. They had that because they wanted to talk about race relations in the 60s, and they couldn't do it overtly. They had to use subtext. So clearly, the showrunners, this is what they want to talk about. They want to use this as a subtext to take a look at the larger world, and you look at things that are happening in the world today. As I speak this on Sunday, June 7th, it's very relevant. And they wrote this and shot this last year, but obviously these situations have been boiling over for some time. So that's the out of universe explanation. The out of universe explanation is they wanted to do this. This is what they wanted to talk about. They wanted to use a class system in the show to talk about class in real life. Fine. I mean, that's it. There are probably better ways to survive an ice age than a fucking train going around the world. Like clearly, that there are better ways. There are things you could do. You could dig deep into a fucking mountain, use the geothermal energy, and you be protected from the elements just from you could totally fucking do that. And if he was as rich as this guy, that's what you do, right? But that's not the story they want to tell. They want to tell a story about a train going around the fucking world. Fine, cool. And I was just going to leave it at that. I figured, well, this is what they wanted to do. There's no in-universe explanation that makes any sense. And the reason it doesn't make sense in-universe is the first class people are actually a strain on the resources that you need for everybody to survive. And you see this in the second episode when you have that accident in the butcher's car and they lose all the cows. And that costs them a lot, not just in the meat that they produce, the milk they produce, but also the methane. All these things are important, right? And plus just the damage to the car itself. They were going to have to slow down to fix the damage. And slowing down the train means you have less electricity for everybody. Well, a lot of the electrical resources being used are being used in first class to pamper these motherfuckers, right? So it doesn't make sense in universe to have a class of people that are straining your resources that everybody could die. Like you're trying to cater to them. You can't slow down enough because you're trying to cater to the first class people. And so you're actually jeopardizing the lives of the last 3,000 people in the entire world, That doesn't make sense in universe. It doesn't make sense to have that class system because those people are actually draining resources. You see what I'm saying? Another thing, the class system exists here in real life for the very simple reason that, say, a rich person gave me $1 million today. I'm grateful to them. How long am I grateful to them? Am I grateful to them a year from now? Am I grateful to them 5 years from now? Am I grateful to them 7 years from now? Maybe I am. Maybe I am grateful to them for a long period of time. But in the back of my mind, one of the biggest reasons I'm grateful to them is because they have more money. They can give me another $1 million maybe sometime in the future. So I'm grateful to them for what they did, but I'm still going to kiss their ass 7 years after they give me that $1 million because if they give me $1 million, there's a possibility they'll give me another $1 million in the future. That's why the class system works here. Why do people kiss billionaires' asses with tax cuts and shit like that? Because they can get money from them and they can continue to get money from them. Let me ask you this. If the billionaire gave away his money and he had no more money to give and was never going to have money to give, would you still keep kissing their ass 5 years after they give you money? No, you wouldn't. There's no logical reason to. Maybe some people would have this big loyalty code where out of sheer loyalty they'll be grateful for their entire lives. That's not typically the way the human race works, though. So That's the situation we have in the Snowpiercer. The people that are in the first class are the people who bought tickets, who donated a massive amount of money, resources, probably political connections, whatever, to help get the train made. Whitmore, whatever the fuck his name is, he used his time and energy and his resources, his money, but he needed the passengers, the first class passengers, to um, help him make this thing become a reality. And I assume the second and third class passengers also paid. They paid a lesser amount, so they get less resources, but they get less pampering. But I assume they all paid. The stowaways, the people in the tail, are the ones who didn't pay. That's why they get treated like shit. They don't have rights, etc. Right? But we're back to my question. The people they gave you these money, they gave you these resources, they used these political connections 7 years ago when the train was first made. It's 7 years later. They're not going to give you money anymore. They're not going to give you resources anymore. They don't have political connections anymore. Everything they gave you is in the past is all they will ever give you. So why are you still loyal to them now, 7 years later? Why are you kissing their ass now? It didn't make any sense to me. Like, logically, there's no reason to continue to pamper them and treat them like kings now, 7 years after. They're never going to give you any more money, right? That's why the metaphor can only take you but so far in the show is when you compare it to real life. There's differences in real life. The power perpetuates. As a matter of fact, it perpetuates beyond death. There's some powerful, like whoever owns Amazon, Bezos, whatever his name is, he has children, or he has a designated heir who someday will inherit that, who will take advantage of the connections with the governments and the other people that they've made. So even after you die, you still need to kiss people's asses. You still need to name a building after Bezos or whatever, or speak nicely about him. You need to pamper him in perpetuity because his resources are infinite. Not the case in Snowpiercer. So that was the question I proposed to myself in the second episode. It didn't make any sense that you continue to kiss their ass 7 years because they can't give you anything anymore. They have no resources left. There's nothing they can give you. But then while I was editing the episode, an answer occurred to me that makes sense in story. There's two reasons, actually, why you would have the class system that we see on the show. Especially the first class, who are like, let them eat cake. Those assholes, right? Spoiled, pampered babies. Two reasons. Number one, you need somebody for the vast majority of the population, especially the tail people, but everybody second and third class. You need somebody for them to hate besides you. If it was all one class in the entire train, human nature says they would start to hate the people who are in charge. That's just the way it is. It doesn't matter who's in charge. The people under the charge are going to hate the people in charge. It doesn't matter. Like that's just the way it works. It could be the Pope. It could be Mother Teresa. I know those people are problematic, but just go with me on this. It could be whatever your ideal is of the perfect person. If they're in charge, people are going to bitch. People are going to complain, and people are going to hate whoever's in charge. That's just human nature. That's the way it is. So it behooves somebody in charge to have a target of people's irritation that is not you. If I'm in charge, I don't want people being pissed off at me all the fucking time, because we saw what happened in France when the guillotines came out. The royalty didn't have anybody like the crowds could direct their anger towards, except for the royalty, right? Generally speaking, this is Roger Goodell's job in the NFL. The 32 owners of the NFL are the actual assholes. The majority of them. They're the ones who have racist policies. They're the ones who get things wrong with domestic violence. They're the ones who, all the things that irritate people about the NFL. It comes from the owners. Because Roger Goodell's job is to be the target. They pay him $40 million a year, not because of anything he does, but because he stands out there and he gets booed on draft day. None of the owners get booed on draft day. None of the owners have hate mail, for the most part. Again, I'm generalizing. The owners don't get the kind of hate mail. They don't get the kind of irritation. They don't get the bile vented at them that Roger Goodell does. Even though they're the ones responsible. If Roger Goodell was doing shit that the 32 owners didn't like, he'd be fucking gone. No, they like what he's doing. They want him to do it. They sign off. They rubber stamp what he's doing. They could fucking fire him in a heartbeat if they didn't like what he's doing. He is doing what they want. His job is to be the target. He is the shield. They talk about protect the shield. He is the shield. He's the one. His job is to take the punishment so that the owners can sit back and be loved by their fans. That's his job. That's what Melanie wants. She wants, since she took over for Widmore, we don't really know what happened. Like at some point, the old man died. She probably killed him. Maybe he was going to try to cut off my personal theory is he was going to try to cut off the tail section. And she saw a purpose to them. So she probably killed him. We'll see it later in the season. I'm sure that's the way they're going. That would make her a more interesting character and a more relatable character. And, she won't be so black and white at that point. But she needs that kind of a shield because if you had all one class, everybody would be united and you'd have 2,900 people and you have maybe 100 like peace officers or whatever, 100 administrators, 100 supervisors, and that's it. Maybe my numbers are off, but you get what I'm saying. They'd be vastly outnumbered. So what she does is she's got them the first class. I believe she's got the first class established there. And, they were already established at the very beginning because they just given them money, so you're grateful. Here's the accommodations. But you didn't need to keep it that way for the last 7 years. You could have made adjustments. You could have, opened up and made everybody all one class. She didn't do that because she needs that target. She needs somebody for everybody else to hate. And, you notice the first class obviously is positioned between everybody else and her accommodations, the engine room and, the headquarters and, the bureaucracy that runs the train, I assume, is beyond first class. So you've got first class, you've got the bureaucracy, you've got the headquarters, the capital, essentially, of the train. Then you've got first class. So they got to go through first class first. So that's the first thing. That's the stick. I think there's a second reason, the carrot. I think the carrot is you could one day aspire to be a higher class than you are. The tail people can aspire to be third class. Third class people can aspire to be second class. Second class people can aspire to be first class, and so on. So that's the carrot. Just like when we have a lottery system, you think even though there's like dramatic, very very slim chance that you'll ever win $100 million in a lottery, somebody every now and then they win $100 million. So we all think it could be us. That's all you need. You don't need a bunch of people winning $100 million to keep the population in line. You don't need a bunch of people advancing in their class. Every now and then they pull a couple kids out of the tail section and they apprentice them and they do advance in class. It happens. We saw it in the second episode. So you need that hope. You don't just control people with fear. You can't control people with fear. We're seeing that. You make the protesters afraid they're going to be tear gassed or beaten with batons or run over with tanks or whatever. More of them come out the next day, and more of them come out. You can't control people with fear. Maybe you control some people with fear, but you can't control everybody with fear. You can control a lot of people with hope. And the combination of the two, fear and hope, are a powerful combination. So she's got 3 games going on here. She's got, here, you can hate these people instead of hating me. And like watching the show, it's like you do hate the first class people more. Like we fell into the trap. We took the cheese. So you can hate them. Also, you can be afraid of the punishment. Like, you get your arm frozen off. And then you have the carrot. If you're nice and you're not assholes to us and you're not mean to us, there's a chance you can advance in class. So I think that's why they do. I think that's the in-universe explanation. I don't know if we're ever going to get that. That's a lot of work. But these are the kind of things that a writer does. A writer sits down. Good writers, not hacks. Good writers sit down and they say, okay, here's the explanation for what we're doing. They may never actually go into it. Like, there's only so much screen time. There's only so much you can explain. Nobody, look how long this video is taking. Like, they don't have the screen time to explain this shit. But as long as you have that rationale as a writer, you can reference things. You can inference things. You can just put little tidbits in there because the character knows. Like, Melanie knows this shit, if this is the reason, if this is the rationale. She knows this. And so she can allude to it every now and then. As a writer, that's all you need. And then, if a writer wants to, if they get asked at a convention, they can give the explanation. That's good writing. I could be way off. Maybe they didn't think of it, and it was just, like I said at the first, this is just what they want to do, and who gives a shit? But to me, this makes sense, and it occurred to me, so I just wanted to share this. So now that I've, theorized, which I don't really do that often, I'm going to get back to some more drunk reactions.